update and charts of the day for today. Fantastic that you made it along, and wonderful to see you here as always. Hope you had a great weekend. Lots going on to talk about today, of course, and we shall start by doing that. Of course, see if we can find some interesting charts that may be looking promising from a point of view of sentiment change and setup. Of course, as we do, as we are looking at live markets, please remember this is for educational purposes only. Please remember to do your own due diligence on anything you see here. Make sure to follow trading plans and, of course, manage risk on every trading action. Let's start, of course, by looking at what's coming across the news wires today. Uh, Somewhat surprisingly, US market shrugged off what was an interesting week last week in terms of the US. There's no resolution in sight to this shutdown, and at this stage, markets appear to be mellow, either suggesting some resolution or potentially um, that the impact won't be significant. But of course, what the bottom line is that um, if it does become prolonged, of course, the record is held by Trump in his last administration, where there was a 34-day shutdown. Certainly, anything resembling that may well start to twitch markets significantly. The barrier seems to be, it's interesting to try and unpick what's real and what's not real and what's spin and what's not spin. But the bottom line appears to be that the one big beautiful bill, which imposed all these healthcare restrictions, um, including a fairly dramatic slice into healthcare provision, is something that the Democrats are keen to do. They're not asking for more funding; they're just asking for a continuation of that little bit. Republicans look as though they're going to try and take advantage of a shutdown by scything jobs, and of course the back and flow rhetoric is quite significant. The reality is that most of the U.S. public appear to blame the Republicans rather than Democrats for this. Around about 60% at this stage of Republicans who were polled are suggesting that this is a Republican issue. But it's really difficult to unpick what's going on. The Project 25 author, Russell Vogt, I think it is, Voigt, um, is involved somewhere in the background in all of this, and has been meeting with Trump. Anyway, we shall see what we shall see. Next few days will be interesting. In terms of what's happening to markets, as I said, markets are shrugging things off fairly well. US futures were still up mildly high today. Asian markets have seen the Nikkei surge to a record. They've just recruited into their masses a sort of new member of the government who is generally positive on stimulus, and that's seen the Nikkei move up to in excess of 4%. Of course, the yen on the back of that news has been battered this morning. The ASX is struggling to hold over neutral. It was quite a positive start, but it's now trading just under neutral, I think. I still looked. European futures are pointing to a cautiously positive open at this stage. So we shall see what we shall see. In terms of the FX markets, again, it's been quite interesting. We have seen the US dollar index, which was weak for most of, it's been weak for the last couple of weeks. We'll have a look at charts for all of these, of course, as we go through. We did see a small bounce off support. Gold is testing unbelievably 3,900. It's actually sitting above that at the moment. Commodities generally, or metals generally, are looking really strong. Copper's moved over the key $5 level. There was some OPEC news out as well. There was talk in terms of they were going to follow through on some um, production hikes that they promised earlier in the year. The thinking is at the moment that um, that may be tempered a little bit. There is a concern that there's an oil glut, a little bit of oversupply going on. It'll be interesting to see what happens to oil. We have seen a bounce today on the back of that news, but it'll be interesting to see what happens next. Um, if this is a temporary trade the news move, we may see it move down and test 4-year lows. We'll have a look again, and we'll have a look at a chart. Bitcoin's testing record highs in Asian trading. One of the issues with, of course, the shutdown is that the delay in data coming out. Friday's non-farm payroll wasn't released and still isn't. Or the US government data is likely to be delayed. This might start to twitch markets a little bit, but we shall see again what happens over the coming days. It is a fairly quiet day today. We've got the BOE and ECB leaders both having speeches later, which may just give clarity on where they may be moving in terms of policy. So there you go. There's the headlines. Let's have a look. Let's have a potential look at some charts, shall we? I just want to see if we've got any internet going. Um, we have. I'll do this quickly then. Here's what the Asian markets are doing right now. You can see the Nikkei absolutely surging on the back of that news. And if we look at the futures, you can see that US futures are rather perky at this stage. Um, European futures are flat in Asian trading, but if we look at Friday's action, European markets may start slightly lower, looking at that. US markets close near the highs. Elsewhere in the futures markets, you can see buying coming back into oil, as I've said, more buying coming into gold, quite spectacularly. Copper's pretty neutral. You can see that battering of the yen futures, and most of that US dollar move to the upside is US yen. The euro's also slightly weak today. If we quickly have a look at the ASX since we've got it up and running, you can see there we are slightly to the downside. We're fimbling around this area here. Not surprisingly, energy and materials are looking perky on the back of moves in metals and oil this morning. But you can see we started off pretty good, and then we've just sort of drifted down over the course of the trading session so far. So IT's underperformed down in excess of 1%. And if we look at Forex Factory, um, we'll see. I mean, it's really good news in terms of if there is some peace deal in Gaza. And notice that the Israelis are taking the advantage of the fact that there isn't one in place yet to up the game in terms of continuing leveling, essentially, of that planet. There's those two ECB president speaking later today. If we look further down the week, then really we've got the Kiwi rate decision later. We've got the FOMC minutes on Wednesday evening, weekly jobs if they come out of the US. I notice it's been tentatively planned for Friday to put the non-farm payrolls in. That's the first time I've seen that. We'll also get something from the RBA governor as well later in the week, which may telegraph where rates might be going. We just at this stage, or end of last week was 50-50. Yeah, it's still about that. Not meeting until the 4th of November, so around about 6 weeks off at this stage. 4 weeks off at this stage. Anyway, that's the news around. So let's have a look. After that bonus, let's have a look at some charts. Um, there we go. Quickly going to pop in. Hi, Roger. Hope you're good. Um, always good to see you guys here. Let's say a quick hi in the box. Yeah, if you're not, if you haven't got the link for the RBA rate tracker, I'll just put that in YouTube as well for you. So you can keep an eye on that. Have a look at it every couple of days. There we go. Okay, so let's check out some charts, shall we? So we're going to start with the Dow. There's the Dow futures. You can see there in session on Friday. Slight pullback towards the end of the session. We saw um, in the last sort of couple of hours a little bit of profit taking going on in most of the indices. You can see there we've regained a little bit of a gap this morning. We've regained the upwards tilt on that. Likewise with the Nasdaq, we did see a pullback on Friday. I just want to check in on this. Uh, let's change accounts. We should see a refresh of those any second now. It's interesting why it's not refreshing. We'll come back to that. On the FX side of things, we'll come back to that as well. But on our commodities, you can see things looking good. Good moves in USO, good moves in gold this morning, all that sort of stuff. So let's look at the US dollar because this is the primary cause of this. You can see that gap up in today's trading. There we go. It doesn't look as though it's sustainable at this stage. Just starting to tip over on the 30-minute chart. Maybe a short opportunity here, potentially even close the gap trade. But gold is looking as gold does. Currently on the CFD contract, it's sitting at 3910. Quite spectacular, of course. I don't need to put a chart going back because this is record highs on gold. The buyers are still in, trading towards the high of the session. If we look here, possibly an interesting short-term trade. If we breach 3910, our intraday high today was 3920. Might be a $10 pinch going on there if we do get a break to the upside. But of course, should we come down and retest this level at essentially 3898, so 3900 looks as though it's support at the minute. That would create a double top type of formation, so there may be a short opportunity later in the day if we get some rebalancing or some profit taken on gold. At this stage, it doesn't look as though there's any. Looks like a profit taking move, particularly with that bounce straight back up again. As I said, copper's looking perky, strong again in Asia today. There's that breach of $5 again. And it looked as though it was going to pause, but it didn't even. It's just like a knife through butter, really. And the next sort of action point is probably this level here, around about 522. So that's around about 11 cents up from where we are now. The buyer's most certainly in at the top of the session. We're looking to move or to test Friday's highs before that late profit taking pullback. So that looks very positive. If we do get that, and then be careful around LME open this afternoon. Uh, I talked about there's oil's breach of that support, which was quite staggering on Thursday, pretty neutral on Friday. You can see there's that 4-year low marked on the chart there. But we are on the back of that OPEC news. We have got to move to the upside. It's not massively compelling, to be fair. So look at this support level here at 62.13. There could be a retest, sort of a breakout and a retest. Two things could happen here. We could get a fake out, so this breakout falls down into that range, or we could just get this break and retest. So either way, the two levels I'll be watching are the $62 level and potentially the $60. 63, should we start to see a move to the downside on that on the daily chart? If we look at the 30-minute chart, does appear, there's the gap this morning, does appear to be fairly robust, just under 62. So let's see what happens with that. Interesting. And then there's Bitcoin. There's the move in Bitcoin. As I said, previous record high close at 122,969. We breached that in the smallest trading after three attempts to breach it at the back end of last week. So we haven't had a close over this intraday high yet at 124,600. If we look at the 30-minute chart, you can see the buyers coming back in, but there was the spike uh, over the weekend, which is sort of interesting. So it actually pulled back towards it's Friday's high there. So we actually pulled back beneath Friday's high during the weekend. Very, very choppy on yesterday. So we're looking to sort of, yeah, as I said, we're looking to sort of move above that. That's a strong move to the upside that we're seeing there. So Bitcoin looks interesting. Now on to the currencies. Nice weekend gap we can see here. Very tradable. 1.8% in the US yen. If we look at an hourly chart, you can see that in a bit more interestingly. Um, but you can see that move up. We are trading at the high of the session on the US yen. If we look at the Euro USD, Euro's actually looking quite perky. So we had that gap down because of that USD strength. A little test of 117.15 and move to the upside. Nowhere near as exciting as the yen crosses though, and you can see that also on the Aussie yen. You can see there that's a massive. That's not only a big gap, but it's a gap and go. You saw the gap hit, and then it just continued through there. Um, Very positive move. If we look at this on a daily chart, you can see this is. Oh, let's look at it on a weekly chart. So this is highs on the Aussie yen since November last year. Looking very perky indeed. I'm hoping some of the EAs have taken advantage of this move. Um, Looks very strong. It's going to be the same across all yen crosses. If we look at the GB pound yen, you can see that's a very, very similar picture. We are in this. That's interesting. No, this is not an EA. Oh, but nevertheless, very positive. Um, Again, if we look at context, so that's breached the high from a month or so ago. This is the target on this on the still quite a way off that, but the fact that we're up over 200 again, 201.48 at this stage is very positive. That actually looks like a nice chart. Um, Probably my favourite of all of the end crosses that we've seen so far. That breach there of 272 looks very interesting. Um, Atina, there's no reason why you can't partially close trades. That's interesting. I will check that out. I'm going to put my email in here. Um, Drop me an email, and if you can put your account number, I will get someone there to check that out for you, Tina. That's not something that I was aware of. If they have done it. Hi, Lita. Good day. Yeah, absolutely, JT. Completely see it. All good. Um, okay. Back to the plot. Back to the chart plot. So I like the GB pound yen. I think that's going to have to be my chart of the day. But any of the yen crosses are looking very strong, and I think that might continue. Right. Okay. See, it's not. If you look at the GB pound Swissy, it's not the GB pound per se. It's the weakness in the yen that's obvious. The fact that that's at its high of the session, it's a fairly clear run to the upside is what appeals. Let's check out some ASX stocks. This has obviously been one of the favorites over the last however long. It's been a continued chart of the day, and that continues to move to the upside. You can see last week's trading finished at all-time high, and we'll continue in that today. A Parentia one that seems to have stuck um, around about this $3 level. We suggested this might happen just because it's a nice round number. Obviously, just have a quick look through. Yeah, obviously that's interesting. Metals are doing very well, as we've already said. LYC has been on our radar. New record highs on LYC as well. This has been one we've been referencing really in this period here. We talked about a lot, and also once we had this breach here. So if you got in around about that $15 level, you'll have made it in excess of 20% on this. Rare earths are where a lot is at the minute. And of course, gold stocks are going to be rampant. There's Evolution Mining. Uh, just a pause around that 1111 level. Uh, ADB breaching the. This is an interesting one. There's a gap fill from 88 in the tech space. You can see there's the gap filled. Question is, what is next? We like this. If it breaches 560, there could be upside here. On a day when tech is underperforming, um, this could be one to just check where it's sitting towards the back end of the trading session. Lithium stock's not looking too bad. If we look at Vulcan Energy, which is one of the ones from last week, that's just continuing to pile higher. Let's just check out in PLS. Just to see where this is. I really need to sort this out. I accidentally I accidentally added all of the US stocks to my list. Yeah, PLS up 3.5%. That's why PLS is looking interesting. We talked about this in both sessions last week, either about the importance of this 252 level. There's the breach. On a weekly chart, this is highs, not hit since November again last year. This is a significant move to the upside. Possibly 285 if we get, or 281 maybe, if we get continued momentum in this. Which is 8% to the upside. LTR is the other one that we'll keep an eye on last week for a breach of $1. And you can see there it's testing it right now. So there's the daily chart. We talked about this dollar level being really important. There's $1. That was the closing high back here on the 21st of July. Retesting that today. I want to make this my chart of the day, actually. PLS is probably a slightly better fundamental play. Certainly one worth watching, but LYC just insanely good. I'm not sure that's going to stop. But at this stage, it just keeps piling high. Every time there's a pause, that just seems to be another reason to buy, and away we go again. So yeah, that's sort of interesting. Now, double check why that is. I know why it's not doing it. There we go. Vulcan Energy, LYC, West African, I can't remember, West African Resources, I think it is. ILU looking interesting as well. Let's have a look at ILU. It's our last one. I just want all of the gold miners doing well. Luca's also in that rare earth space. Yeah, there we go. So Iluka's actually not a bad place to be either. This is highs not seen since April this year. Next potential technical point could be an important one. You can see there, this could be an interesting technical point of around about 797. So the upside on this is limited. Um, but the fact that that's 8.5%, it's not that limited, is it? I'm going to make Luca my chart of the day. Luca and LTR on the ASX. Now into the US. Let's just check on the big boys. Nvidia we talked about last week. That breach of 182 is important. Potential move up to 200. That's still looking okay. Shy in extended hours trading, but watch how that opens tonight. Here's Ford. This was another chart of the day last week. Really liking this. Very, very positive move on Ford. We're actually testing the next level of interest, which is around about this 12 this 1270 level. The potential next move up to around about 1355. That was a good call, it looks like. And let's have a check in on Tesla, which I must admit I didn't look at over the weekend. Apologies for this. I'm going to get it sorted out for tomorrow tea. Went the wrong way. Down 2%. Yeah, it's been I was trading. A little bit of a pullback for Tesla. Sort of tested this 480 level, which we talked about as possibly a time to take something off the tail, and it dropped quite significantly over the last couple of days. So from that high, intraday high, we're down about 10%. That's quite spectacular. Let's see if there's anything else. Beyond Meat, the vegetarian company, really nice bounce, really nice. So that was an earnings drop, really nice recovery. Like it very much so at this stage. eBay, um, eBay, I've looked at an eBay chart for a long time. Okay, $93 potentially is a level of interest, and then $200 if the buyers do. Worthwhile being patient, of course. Um, there's a couple of things about this technically we like. First of all, that this idea of previous range could be projected next range is one. The fact that we've got a clear line in the sand there is two. This is resistance big time. So a breach through that 93.64 could be significant. But obviously, there's a potential additional trade if we get a pullback on this to move us back down towards 86. So this inflection point here at 93.64 is really worth keeping an eye on. I'm going to make that my US chart of the day. Extended hours trading doing very well. Something's obviously made this stuff interesting. Okay, so just to review. So we like eBay. Keep an eye on Nvidia, of course, for continued move to the upside. LYC is just firing, but Luca was the option. Another option if you like the rare earth space for a potential move up to around about $8. LTR in the lithium space is interesting because of that nice round number of $1. Um, and then, of course, if we um, go to the GB pound yen, that's our FX chart of the day. Keep an eye on Bitcoin throughout the day. Of course, which still has buyers coming in. It looks as though it's happening again. Of course, gold is gold and continuing to move higher, as you can see there. Okay, so there we go. That's your live update for today. I hope that's given you some things to think about and uh, some charts to have a look at. If you wouldn't mind giving on your way out, just ticking that little thumbs up for a like, that would be wonderful. if you can. No obligation, of course. But don't forget to click on the subscribe button if you're not already, with the little bell notifications on so it comes up on your phone. Lita, you're so welcome. Tina, you're welcome too. Look forward to getting your email. I'll check it out for you. Cheers, Roger. You take care of yourself, mate. We'll catch you all again very soon. Have a great Monday. Uh, Trade safe. Bye bye for now.